Hello to all the Atlanta United fans. My name is Jurgen Damm, and you are watching Scarves and Spike, an Atlanta United podcast.
Scarves and Spikes match review podcast as Atlanta United draw the Seattle Sounders 2-2 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Alexei Miranchuk, Henry, and Tyler scoring a goal. I'm Sydney, by the way. Alexei Miranchuk scoring a goal at the very death 99th minute, 9th minute of stoppage time. And I feel absolutely Henry and Tyler no or very little joy after an exciting 2-2 draw against the Seattle Sounders.
You mean you reacted exactly how Alexei Miranchuk reacted?
I reacted exactly.
Absolute screamer.
Exactly.
Zero celebration, zero emotion. Just walk over and just go. Just end the game.
Like he just lost the match like 5-0 or something like that. That was pretty striking. We were all three in the press box after the match or during the match, and that's what we were talking about. Like afterwards, like just he barely celebrated. He raised his hands in the air, but he barely celebrated. I mean, I feel if this were like ESPN First Take, we'd be on like, is Alexei Miranchuk forcing a move out from Atlanta United or something like that? Right, Tyler? I don't know if you or Henry have seen First Take at all.
Yeah,
no, know what I'm talking about.
I just died of dysentery in Oregon.
It's a deep cut right there.
What are you playing, Oregon Trail or something?
Yes, we were literally just playing Oregon Trail right before we got on.
All right.
And I died of dysentery moments ago.
The answer is no, you didn't win, did you?
I'm really upset. And Alexei looked like his family died of dysentery after scoring what was a goal of the week. And I hate that for him. I hate that he did not celebrate it. It reminded me of a couple years ago. There was this player at Atlanta United, and he was not very liked, except for one Tommy Moose, who scored a banger almost in stoppage time that would have been the game winner, except Atlanta United still found a way to go and screw it up. That was a couple of years ago. This was the same vibe I got out of Alexei Miranchuk's goal last night.
That's it. You know, I don't. If you're in Alexei's head, you're like, this should have been the match winner, right? I mean, you somehow concede to Asaze, what's his name? Gosh, Di Rosario. And all respect to the Di Rosario family. Dwayne was an MLS legend in his day, one of the top players in Canadian soccer history for Canadian men's national team. But Asaze Di Rosario becomes, guys, the latest unknown or young player to have his star turn in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, joining the likes of players such as Brendan Aronson, who is with the U.S. men's national team. I believe still in Germany, by the way, right? But
yes, Dylan, it was absolutely Miguel Berry's golazo against the New England Revolution. That was the other deep cut I was going for, unrelated to dysentery.
It was a very good goal.
It was it's funny. It was just like his very first goal for Atlanta United. It's funny when you take shots from the place you've scored the most goals in your career. Like, it's wild. Things tend to happen when you just kick the ball.
You miss 100 shots. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah.
Then Gretzky, Michael Scott, Sidney Hunt. Never mind. So we'll obviously talk about the draw and all of that, but guys, we're going to do something a little bit different. So if you're a member of our Patreon, patreon.com/scarves and spikes, by the way, you get access to our Discord, and we have a bunch of people in there talking about Atlanta United, talking about MLS as a whole, talking about world football talking about fantasy soccer and even the Falcons. I mean, Falcons season is coming up, Bill season too, but Falcons season is coming up as well. Go Bills. So we're talking about that. Braves, Hawks season when it rolls around, video games, Pirates, the whole 9 yards. But yeah, the only way to get access to our Patreon or Discord is go to patreon.com/Scarves and Spikes. And we asked people in our Discord guys to give us questions about Atlanta United. We'll try to answer some of them on this episode. And there are a lot of good questions. There are a lot
Really
of
good ones in there.
questions.
I was having to hold back because I would see it and be like, "Oh, I got to answer that," and then I was like, "Oh, I got to wait till the show."
Yeah, but yeah, these are very interesting questions, very good questions. One from Kevin from Charlotte says, "Can we send through the rest of the season?" Unfortunately, we can't. But no, these are very good questions, and guys, we'll talk through them. Most of them on this episode. I don't know though. Was there anyone in particular you want to hit on first, or
I've got one really quick, only because it kind of got brought up last night. I saw it kind of going on social media, and then it's been brought up already in the chat by a few people. Ariel was talking about how like the whole bins went crazy, but Brett saying I respect Moranchuk for not celebrating, and Dan essentially saying the same thing. Like, I prefer the lack of celebration unless it's a truly historic goal. I mean, what do y'all think though? Like, because our opinions we haven't really given on whether or not he should have celebrated. Like, it was the last kick of the game, literally, and it's to pull a 2-2 draw after being up 1-0 and then blowing that. So, I mean, what do you think? Is it good for him not to celebrate?
I'll just quickly say, I kind of brought up a little bit earlier. It's a meaningless goal. Really, it's a meaningless result. It doesn't do anything for you playoff wise. Yes, it feels good. Yes, it gives you a little shot in the arm. I don't really blame him for not celebrating it because of that very reason. A point does nothing for you. It's just window dressing at this time. And you have had plenty of opportunities over these, I'll say the past few weeks to get 3 points, but you haven't been able to do that. And I think it was, I can't remember who was telling me this earlier on X. By the way, I'm at SH Rights on X and Blue Sky. But yeah, our good friend Mark, friend of the show, long time listener, watcher, said, if Atlanta United Strasbourg wins, Atlanta would be in first place. And I got to thinking, like, if Atlanta United hadn't, just shut down late and blown leads, and if these were draws, they'd be, definitely much higher up in the table. But as it were, it's another point, another meaningless point, and like I said, window dressing at the end of the day. It's I don't know. What do you think, Henry? Maybe toss it over to you.
I wouldn't have celebrated if I was in his position. I mean, we've been talking about it for the past few games now that this team needs to win games, right? Draws do nothing for you. A game will not do it for you. You need to really start winning games, and that should have been a game-winning goal. A banger of a goal should have been a game-winning goal. And because you have so many issues at the back, because you just cannot keep your cool in the second half, you concede 2 goals that, I mean, for me are really, really bad goals to concede. Just the way that you conceded them. And also, I guess, kind of part of it's also the frustration of why things in the attack aren't working. I mean, Atlanta created so many chances in the first half, chance after chance. And I think by halftime, it was something like 7 or 8 shots for Atlanta against 2 for Seattle, something like that.
Yeah.
And Seattle ends up rearing back in the second half. They put up like another 6-7 shots in the second half. And Atlanta doesn't get that many. And so it's for his mentality, like I understand, because the team is in a position where, again, it needs to win games. And it's frustrating at this team, just no matter how well it plays, no matter how good it looks on the field, it just cannot get 3 points. It's literally like it cannot get 3 points. And so I don't blame him for not celebrating.
Tyler, what do you think?
I agree. I think it's one of those where I think kind of the way that he reacted is, in a way, the way that the fans feel about the season as a whole. Like, obviously, the Bens blew up when he scored, which because it's awesome to see a banger in the Bens, especially when it's to pull a draw. It does in that moment. It doesn't matter that you're like 26th out of 30 teams. You just pulled off something that's exciting in the moment. But then when you think about it for a second, it's like, well, that doesn't help us at all in any way because you need wins. Like, you should have never been in this position in the first place. And I think it's easy to then look at the way the game played out and say, well, that should have been the game winner, period. And that should have been 3 points. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not celebrating either. I think his reaction was exactly what I would have done too. Like, cool, thank you. I scored a goal and it was a banger, but like, it doesn't do anything for us. Like, cool. But I'm glad I got the draw, but it doesn't change anything.
I think we just did exactly what I was saying earlier. We did like a first take, embrace debate kind of thing about Miranchuk. Should he be celebrated? Should he have not? But varying opinions, I'm sure, among the fan base, I'm sure, but it's kind of what we thought about it. So maybe good to hear that, just briefly at the top of the show. Do we want to get into these questions from the Discord, guys? We want to talk about these? All right. So thanks again to those who are members of our Discord and members of our Patreon, patreon.com/scarves and spikes. So just kind of looking through, again, some of these questions, they're good questions. So I'm going to kind of get started by taking a look at this one. We can start with this. Maybe Tyler, I'll start with you. Fender saying, since we are out of the playoff picture and the results don't really matter at this point, what are you personally looking for in the back half of the season? So, Tyler, I'll start with you. And just to kind of caveat too, there's Leagues Cup coming up, and then of course the final 10 matches of the regular season. So, I guess Tyler, what are you looking for in the back half, or these next 10 matches plus Leagues Cup?
So for me, and I'll throw this out there as well, if you haven't seen Twitter and or our website, everything else, lots of transfer news happening. Again, I've said this for a couple of days now. This is per sources. I feel so special. Atlanta still has a lot going on. This transfer season is not over by any means for Atlanta United. So I think what I'm looking for going into not only Leagues Cup, because here's the thing about Leagues Cup, the roster has already been submitted.
Yeah.
So it's not like, unfortunately, you can get super excited about anybody else that's really coming in after this point. I think really for me, it's anything they do in Leagues Cup is a bonus. It's cool. If anything comes out of it, great. If not, if they get grouped again, whoop-de-doo. I don't really care. If they can go win something, yay. After that, though, I'm really looking to see how all of the new players that are coming in / players that are going out, how that impacts, and I'm going to say it, the culture of this team. And I know we joke around about the stupid word all the time, but like, there is a locker room problem with Atlanta United. There's a culture problem. There is an issue going on with kind of the things behind the scenes. And that is what Chris Henderson is trying to address in this transfer window, and admittedly the next one. So going forward from here, I just want to see this team start acting like a team and playing like a team and showing to the fans that they are a team. And what I mean by that is, it's the simple stuff. You look at last night, Miguel Almiron and Ronald Hernandez, they get off the bus together. They're chatting together on the way into the Bens. They're joking around. They're having fun. And then they get out on the pitch together. And what do? They have some of the best combination play that we've seen all season alongside Alexei Miranchuk. That stuff off the pitch matters. It matters. It's a big deal. So I want to see that kind of gelling, that chemistry, that culture be adjusted and fixed going into 2026. That's all I
And just real quick before we get to Henry. So you mentioned the rosters have been submitted. So we can't say that Mihai is on the Leagues Cup roster and Berakal is on the Leagues Cup roster. So definitely want to flag that before we get to Leagues Cup, which begins on Wednesday. I guess Nakaha. How do you pronounce it? Nakaha?
Necaxa?
Nakaxa.
Necaxa.
Okay, got it. Henry, what are you looking for during the stretch or down the stretch?
Well, look, I think, I really agree with Tyler. Really just seeing how the new signings integrate into the team, seeing what they bring. I guess it's a pretty bad comparison, but it's kind of what I'm trying to liken it to is Inter Miami in the back half of 2023 after they got Messi and, the whole Barca boys gang, Sans, Suarez. But basically, to see an improvement, right? A taste of what is to come in the next season. Because the idea is that, for the most part, the players that you're getting in this window are supposed to set the foundation for the next few windows and for the next few seasons, set a real good foundation for this team. And so you want to see that start to develop in these last games that Atlanta United has this season. If you don't see any improvement, that is where you have a massive concern, because then there's nothing to look forward to. But if you start seeing, the good interplay, the good soccer, the development of tactics, the team actually holding together, not completely crumbling coming out of the second half, the mentality being strengthened, the players kind of looking more united, more together, that is a very good sign for, a group of players that, for the most part, is going to be here next season. There's going to be several players that are going to be, out of contract, moved out in the off season, and that's fine. But this foundation that you're building is very important. So you need to get it right, and you need to see that they fit into the team in this time period, because if they do in this short term, once we look at, a whole preseason with these guys, with Ronnie Dyla, the development of tactics that you can really hammer in that time period, it's going to bode well for this team going into 2026. So I want to see that. And bonus point here, I want to see some homegrowns keep playing. I want to see Luke Brennan some more. I want to see, give Jaden Hibbert some time. Will Riley, give some of these youngsters the chance. Because look, you're probably not making the playoffs at this point. I think we've all kind of accepted that. Give some of the youngsters a chance, even if it's just so that you can add value to them, so you could trade them to Montreal. I don't care, but I just want to see them so that we know the academy and the homegrowns. There is a plan for them, that this team, this club, is capable of developing young talent, and maybe some of them in a dream maybe will be part of an important part of the first team.
Yeah, and I'm, you mentioned young players, Henry. I am pretty confident we'll see a lot of them during Leagues Cup. I'm pretty confident that we'll see Hibbert maybe be the starting keeper during Leagues Cup. Yes, Cohen is not back. He is still on the injured list, if I'm not mistaken. So it looks like Hibbert may be the keeper. I think that's been the common case, right? I think last year was Cohen that started Leagues Cup, if I'm not mistaken. It just kind of blurs together because they again haven't lost. They haven't won a match in Leagues Cup. So I think if there's a chance you want to put Hibbert out there, start him against Nakacha. Start him on Wednesday night in Leagues Cup and see what happens. I think I want to see continued growth from young players. Brennan, certainly, who has been really good, should have had really maybe a brace against Seattle, if we're being honest with ourselves, but a brace and an assist. But no, he's been really good. Riley's been good when we've seen him. Henry, like he said, Hibbert, enjoyed watching him play against TFC. Just show you care down the stretch. And that goes for the senior level players too, the players that have been here for a while. You're playing really for jobs, especially those of them who are on options for 2026. You're playing for jobs. You're playing for an extended contract. I know Lennon's been talking about, hey, I want a new contract. We've been talking about it with the club. Show it. I mean, he hasn't. I think we can all agree throughout this entire season. But if there's any little inkling of a chance that you could come back in 2026, show that you belong in 2026, because No, you're turning the page. You've turned the page fully on this season, and I'm under no illusions. I've said this before that Atlanta United will win Leagues Cup. I think set yourself a manageable goal. Set yourself a goal of let's win a match in Leagues Cup, whether in regulation or in penalties. So set a goal for that first. Exactly.
How
Right.
far we have fallen.
Exactly. It's just kind of ludicrous to talk about.
Just go win a
Just
game.
win a Leagues Cup match. No.
First goal wins.
Yeah, exactly. No, but yeah, just see if you could get a little momentum on Wednesday and see what happens from there. I don't think you'll win the whole thing, obviously. I don't think you'll even get out of the group, but at least show you care. At least show some fire and passion and show that, hey, we're not going to the playoffs, but at least we're going to end the season with our heads held high. Any other? Yeah,
I will say too on that. Yeah, I'll say this really quick. My other kind of response to that question is I want to see one game, just one, please, like minimum one, where you play a full, legitimate, really good 90 minutes of soccer.
I mean,
You're asking a lot of this team.
That should be Tyler. That should be the bare minimum for this team. To be honest,
I agree. It has not happened one time this season at all. Like literally, and you understand how wild that is. Like you haven't played a match, a full 90 minutes this whole season. That's insane.
Unbelievable.
So that's my other ask. Also, breaking news: my family broke a wagon wheel and they've died on the Oregon Trail. So that's where we're at.
What do you think, Henry? Anything final from this first question from Discord?
No, I mean, I'll just add what Gray commented, and Matt Edwards, we didn't talk about him, but I'll just throw this bit, and I talked about it on 3 takeaways, but I really liked Edwards at left back with Brennan in front of him on the wing. I feel like they connect very, very well. They have a very good understanding of each other, their movements, their tendencies, where they're going to be. Edwards put Brennan in on some very, very good plays in that Charlotte game in the first half. And I think that was part of the danger that we saw created in that part of the game. So I would definitely love to see him play some more. And yeah, more Riley in midfield. I mean, Mayumba wasn't spectacular in this last game. He hasn't been great. Honestly, he's had some moments of okayness, but not enough for me to say like, oh yeah, he's a locked in starter for sure. Right? Yeah. Nah, I'd be fine with seeing some more Will Riley.
Yeah, the problem with that is, I mean, definitely hope to see Riley, but then you have Alzate potentially coming in for Atlanta United at some point in the next few weeks, maybe this week. But yeah, just show you care, just show that you have a pulse, really. Like Tyler said, put together a 90-minute effort just once. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, that's one question. So
Abhishek says we're going to make it back to the playoffs and take out Miami again.
You need to win matches if you want to do that, Abhishek.
You know how pissed off everybody besides Atlanta United fans would be if that happens?
Actually, I think most people outside of Miami fans would be fine with it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
How mad they would
be. CK Levine asking in Discord, what do you think is causing, and this is a very important question, what do you think is causing the seeming lack of on-ball skills from our attacking players? Confidence, overthinking, overpassing, trying to do too much? I'm going to answer this first. I think the answer is yes. Yes to all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Henry, you mentioned Muyumba. I mean, and he's not an attacker, but just tries to do too much, just tries to overplay his hand, and it doesn't work. You just have Alexi really overthinking. You have cases of this team overpassing. I think confidence has a lot to do with it as well. Lot, certainly. I think his confidence is shot from not having scored as many goals as everybody would have hoped he'd score in 2025. Alma Road feel like he's trying to really put the team on his back. I think when he does that, his performances start to diminish. Saba, he just fallen off a cliff.
Not his fault.
I
But
mentioned,
Partially his fault.
partially, okay, yeah, you're right.
No, I mentioned
Yes.
Miranchuk already, but I feel like, and like you guys definitely jump in afterwards, but I feel like definitely all of the above, kind of, it's the issue with Atlanta United. I don't think nobody expected us to be sitting here talking about Atlanta United being well outside the playoff race with 10 matches to go in the regular season. Just considering how much money you put in, I feel like it's sort of a New York Yankees dynamic. You have the money and you spend the money because you have it, and it doesn't always work. The highest salary doesn't always work. It's a question of, do you have that cohesion of talent? Does that talent gel? Does that talent work together and fit together? And through 24 matches, we haven't seen that a whole lot from Atlanta United. And again, it's all of the above. It's not just one issue, it's a ton of issues. And like to think in 2025 or 2026, I should say, with so many players coming out, so many players coming in, much of that hopefully will change. But yeah, all of the above for me, Henry.
Henry, what you got?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's not just one thing; it's a combination of things. Certainly, confidence is a big one. Uh, I think I feel like they get in their own heads sometimes. I think they're so like focused in the first half, and then they're leading and they're doing well and all right. But I think after it happening so many times this season, I think they kind of like go into the second half with like a feeling of dread, and they're like, "Oh man, we know what's coming, right?" I think they kind of go subconsciously go with that a little bit, and that might partially be affecting their ability and confidence at times, because they're like, I can't screw up, and then like trying to focus on not screwing up is what is screwing you up a little bit. But I mean, I could see some overthinking as well. I feel like Moranchuk especially does that a lot sometimes when he's on the ball. I remember a few plays where, and one in particular in this last game, where he's running with the ball, Moranchuk, and Miggy literally like comes like Captain America style, like on your right, like on your left, and like I think he's like motioning them, like, here we go, you pass me the ball now, and he keeps the ball, he keeps it for too long, and then I think he gets dispossessed or something, but doesn't really end up playing the ball because he thinks it too much, and so you kind of got to get out of your head a little bit there. And one more thing that I'll throw out for this question, I think also the way that this team has looked in its best moments going forward, it's quick sequences, quick passes, short little kind of tiki-taka almost style passes. And I think sometimes they get a little too caught up in it. Like they go a little bit too far. And they're like, oh, okay, let's do the one touch, the bam, the rotate, the back heel, and then they start doing all sorts of fancy stuff that they don't even know how to do.
Too pretty, yeah.
Exactly. So they get a little bit too cocky, a little too into it, and then they mess up. So that's the thing. They have to kind of ground themselves a little bit, be like, okay, we are in a competitive soccer game, and I need to know my ceiling, right? I need to know I'm not Ronaldinho. I need to know I'm not Messi, right? You are y'all right now. Focus on the fact that we're trying to play, okay soccer, not Barcelona 2014 style soccer, and kind of ground yourselves in that, and don't get too carried up. A phrase that's not coming to my head.
No.
Sorry.
You're good.
Don't get too excited.
There you go, Tyler. Don't get too excited because you're moving quickly and playing decent soccer.
Yeah.
I think for me, this is purely my opinion. To answer the question, I think there was, in the beginning of the season and the preseason, not enough emphasis put on team building. And what I mean by that is, like, again, the chemistry amongst players. and I know I harp on this a lot, but to me, that is a massive, massive piece of building a team. You see it with the most successful teams, and I'm not saying that they have to go out every single weekend and go hang out, but you look at this team, and a lot of times they don't seem like they
Maybe
know
do
each
an
other.
escape room together or something.
Do an escape room. I always joke around about this. Like back in the beginning of the season, down in Florida, the preseason, like Ronnie Dyla, I asked him, like, what are y'all doing for team building stuff? And he was like, well, I'm not a big fan of, putting the guys up on a mountain and having them like survive their way out. And at this point, I'm like, man, maybe we shouldn't have done that. Like that might have actually helped things out a little bit. But then you fast forward to now, and I think the problems that you're having, like you have fought tooth and nail to have some semblance of good performances. And usually it shows in the first half,
Yeah.
right? Example, last night, first half, you're playing halfway decent soccer. You get a goal, right? It was a dinky little weird goal, but you got a goal. And you were at least creating chances. Were you putting shots on goal? Not necessarily, but you were creating chances. You're
No.
getting in danger areas. You're doing things. Cool. The second half happens, and you have these opportunities. And I actually think this was in the first half. But look at the run that Latte Loth made, where he had the break, and it was just him 1v1 versus the goalkeeper. And he is running, and he's running, and he kind of slows down to adjust his footing and gets in his head and gets caught up on, and then he literally baby giraffes onto the top
To
of the
be
ball.
fair, that's a really good track back by Vargas to come back
It was
into
a
defense.
phenomenal
Yeah.
track back. But I think my point is, though, you had the lack of chemistry in the beginning of the season. That was part of the problem. Then now, because that lack of chemistry has caused you to change formations, change personnel, do everything you can short of break the glass in case of emergency to figure out a way to make this team work. So then when you get, whether you're a $22 million player or a $2,000 player, you get that tunnel vision on goal because it's just you versus the goalkeeper. And the amount of pressure that you have on you as a striker at that moment is immense. Now, put the $22 million back on his back, and that pressure is massive.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the problem. I think the pressure is just getting to them because they feel like they have to score, they have to do something. And they're almost getting tunnel vision in a lot of moments that they normally, you wouldn't see this with these kind of players.
Yeah, and just again, quickly to wrap up, it speaks to confidence. It speaks to the mentality that this team hasn't been on. They haven't been in the right mentality. They haven't been in the right headspace all season long, and that's definitely part of why you're seeing, what you're seeing. So again, to me, it's all four of those factors that Chris kind of brought up in this Discord. But I think Tyler, you mentioned the mentality, definitely speaks to where this team is right now and why this team hasn't performed. Omer, who is watching on YouTube live as we're doing this, put in a few questions, so we'll hit on this one first. So he said, has Garth, Lagerway, and now Chris Henderson put themselves in a corner by not bringing in Dyla and Chris Henderson in last summer after fight Bocanegra and Pineda, where now they can't fire Dyla even if he gets the wooden spoon? Henry, maybe let's start with you just to get your thoughts on it. Has the front office, Lagerway and Henderson, kind of, like Omer said, put themselves in the corner by not bringing in Chris Henderson last year, not bringing in Dyla last year versus doing it now at the beginning of the season?
Well, if we're talking about last summer, neither of them were available last summer.
Yeah.
Ronnie Dyla was still, I can't remember the club that he came from, but he was still there. He was still employed, still a coach. So he wasn't going, I think he was literally hired. Wasn't he hired in like May or April or something like that?
Yeah.
So he was still in the middle of his time over there. He wasn't moving from there quite yet. And Chris Henderson was employed by Miami. And as I've said quite a bit in the Discord, I mean, he could not move from there. And
Right.
maybe I don't know if, we can go through the what if scenarios of, well, if you'd fired Pineda around the time that Ronnie Dyla was available, or if you had fired Carlos Bocanegra the previous winter and then tried to get Chris Henderson at that point, maybe. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of what if scenarios, and it's hard to say. But as far as kind of the second part of that question, they can't fire Dyla even if he gets the wooden spoon. I don't think it's a they can't fire him. It's a they actually trust him as a manager and they believe that he is the right guy to lead the team. I think if if Chris Henderson really, really wanted to, and he woke up tomorrow and he's like, I gotta fire Ronnie Dyla, he can do it. He can fire Ronnie Dyla if he wants to.
Yeah.
But the reason he doesn't, and it might be baffling to us because we're not really sure what Chris Henderson's thinking right now or what the vision is, but he believes that Ronnie Dyla is the right guy to lead the team. And he said as much in his press conference last week. And he gave a ton of reasons of why, he believes that he's the guy, the qualities that he has, his qualifications, and just what he's doing with what he has. And so it's a kind of a trick question to answer because there's a few kind of weird things there, but I'll just leave it at this. The timing of things was done for a reason. And I think they did things as fast as they could while also taking the time to really deliberate and really kind of make sure that they're making things right, because these were two hires that absolutely need to be right. You're talking about the guy that's going to build the roster and then the guy that's going to lead it once you hit the soccer field, right? And so you don't want to rush into those decisions. And Garth took all the time he needed. I don't blame him for that. Now we've really just got to see, once Chris Henderson does his work with this roster and the dust settles on that, can Ronnie Dyla maneuver it to be competitive? And if the answer is still no, then that's where you're going to see most likely a change in that position. But for the time being, I mean, give him his players, give him the tools, and then potentially that's when you start making the tough choices.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Give him the opportunity. The roster is turning over, and we presume the roster is turning over at the winter transfer window. And we already see that Dyla is going to be really involved with the players that come in. Excuse me, with the reports of Alzate being linked to Atlanta United, a player he coached at Standard Liège. Like, we've talked about him several times. So he's going to have a hand in bringing these players in. And what Dyla is saying is, you know what, this is the old way of doing things. I want my players in. I want players that I'm familiar with, I have chemistry with already, to help lead the way into what hopefully will be the next phase of Atlanta United, a new, better phase of Atlanta United. And Chris Henderson and Garth Lagerwey, by extension, have given him that faith, have given him that stamp saying, hey, yes, here's summer, here's winter coming up when we're supposed to have a lot of turnover in this roster. We would love to lean on you. Obviously, we'll have the final say, but we'd love to lean on you to get your input on who fits well on this roster, who fits well with you, who knows your way you want to play, who knows, kind of the ins and outs of your system, your way of thinking. And that's where players like Alzate comes into play. As for other players, I'm sure that we'll hear about maybe closer to the winter, that's when they will come to play. And what the front office is saying is, okay, you're going to get your players in, right? You're going to get, let's say, 10, 12, 15 games into 2026 to prove that, hey, this is all you needed is a remade roster mainly made up with your players. And if you perform, that gives you even more of a vote of confidence from us. If you don't, we have no problem firing you and bringing in somebody else. So that's my 2 cents. That's where I feel like this is going. And, frankly, I'm on board with it, to be honest with you. I'm on board. But, if you get the same result with a remade roster in 2026, like I said, after 10 to 15 games, you have to cut big. You have to get rid of him. You have to bring in another coach.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of said it last night when I was doing spaces, but there's definitely been a crowd of people who kind of blame the players and a crowd of people who blame the coach / coaching staff. And then others that blame straight up the front office. And it's funny because we go back to the beginning of the season. We did an episode where we talked about like who's to blame, and
Mm-hmm.
I think you look at the way that Atlanta has been going the past couple of weeks, and it's pretty clear that the biggest concern is the players. To answer the question, I don't think this would change anything. Here's the thing. This is pure speculation. I don't know what the hard, fast rules are with having discussions about stuff with somebody that you expect to hire that's not actually hired yet before. But I would imagine Ronnie Dyla was not first talked about the day that Chris Henderson got hired.
Right.
I would imagine these conversations had come up because you think about the situation that Chris Henderson was in down in Miami, where he wasn't being treated well, if we're being honest. Like the way that they brought in somebody else, I know there was a whole story about him getting kicked out of his office and everything else. Like it seemed, from what we read and heard and seen and everything else, like it seemed pretty crappy to Chris. So yeah, I mean, I think if Garth were to go to him and say, hey, this is what we want to do, obviously we have to wait until the proper time. We'll do that, but have a beer and let's discuss coaching staff. I just imagine that maybe was how it went. So I don't think it harmed anything. And I think at this point, like the club had to pick one or the other. They either had to say it's the players and we have to fix this through the front office, or it's the coaching staff and we have to fix this through the front office. And I think what you're seeing now is, Ronnie Dyla, if you go back and watch Rooted in the Stripes, it's pretty clear that he's got a seat at the table. He and then you just look at the, like you said, the Alzate.
Right.
Literally, yeah. But Alzate was a guy that played for him. He wants him. This is part of some of these transfer rumors and this busy week that I've talked about. Like again, pure speculation, but I fully expect Alzate. I think that deal gets over the line personally. But that's somebody he wants. And if that's the case,
yeah,
next year, again, if you're in the coaching out kind of boat, next year, there are no excuses. You can't blame it on anybody else at that point.
Here's one from Brett. Brett saying, for each of these players, Lennon, Gregerson, Abram, Saba, Muyimba, Latilat, Amiral, Mirachuk, you trade. You also have to trade what of Jay Fortune, Luke Brennan, Jaden Hibbert, Will Riley, Dominic Chonky, or Bartos Leash. Who are you saying and why, Henry? I hear you kind of groaning and
tough question, man.
There's
several players in that first category that I would like to trade away, and really no players in the second one that I want to trade away.
Well, for the sake of this question.
Okay. Crap. Are we assuming that contracts aren't expiring at the end of the season?
Sure.
I think it. Yeah, like right now, this is it. You have to make a decision as of today. I know that makes it hard.
I'll do these two. I'll do Lennon out and Dominic Chonky out. I feel like, Chonky, he has potential, but right now he's not at that level, so I'm willing to trade him right now because he hasn't played with the first team a whole lot yet. And Lennon, we already know. I just don't think he's coming back, and this team doesn't really need him at this point. And then the second one, I guess, Abram out. And this is going to be a tough one for me, but Jaden Hibbert out.
Yeah.
Because again, Hibbert doesn't have a whole lot of minutes with the first team. I've seen the other guys have a lot more time with the first team, and so I wouldn't mind sacrificing. I feel like, I'm not saying goalkeeper is an easy position, but I feel like it's a position that you could easily reinforce through other means. I mean, you have Josh Cohen; he's a short-term stopgap, I guess. But yeah, I don't feel that bad about giving. I mean, I do feel bad, but not as bad as I would feel giving up like Jay Fortune or
Right.
Luke Brennan, who have played several minutes now and
Yeah.
have shown improvement and have shown promise. So yeah, those would be the two trades that I would make.
What about you, Tyler? Out of those lists that I gave, what's your thinking?
All right. Brett asking the
Mhm.
real hard questions. All right. I agree. Lennon and Chankwi. This is nothing against anybody in that
Yeah,
second
right.
category.
I'm
Or the
kidding.
first one for that matter, but I just think these are changes that need to be made. Lennon Chankwi, Louisa Brom, and I think for him, I would, because it's going to end up happening anyway. I'll stick with Jaden Hibbert, so I'll stick with your first two. I will also say,
What do you think?
oh god, this is
Ah.
gonna suck. Alexei Moranchuk.
Oh, why Jay?
Just scored
Jay
a
Fortune.
banger and you're shipping him out.
Yeah.
It wasn't from Fire Island
The
enough.
first question, why Jay? Nothing against Jay. I think Jay right now is one of the best midfielders this team has, and you can get something for him. I think he needs to go to bigger, better things.
Maybe you can just transfer him though. You can trade him. Get some money for him.
Well,
I see what you're saying. Go ahead.
Look,
You
I
have
gotta do what I
more?
gotta
Gonna
do.
keep
All right,
going?
these are the hard decisions that must be made. Alexei Moranchuk. I can't stick to the recency bias. Look, the freaking goal he scored was a banger. He's had success, but he disappears
Yeah.
for far too long in every match that he plays, and it's just I can't literally sit in the press box and 20 minutes into the match go, oh my god, Alexei Moranchuk is playing. I can't, like, that's not what a number 10
That's a
should
bad
be.
thing.
100% agree with you.
And that's what I'm saying. So like I can't justify just because he scored a couple of good
Yeah.
goals, like keeping him on.
All right, I
Just can't
agree.
do it.
I think to me, you have to do Lennon and Miranchuk. I think you have to trade them. I mean, that's what I would do. That's what I should say. But the other two on that list, Fortune, Brendan, Hibbert, Riley, Chunky, and Sleesh, I say trade Chunky because, like Henry, you were saying, you haven't seen too much of him with the first team, so you can kind of maybe get a little bit of return for him. And then I would say Will Riley because I feel like you have, especially Tyler's kind of looking at me funny. So here's the thing. This assumes that you have Alzate coming in. So if you have Alzate coming in, you'll have William Ba, who I kept. You have Fortune. You have Sleesh. You could probably pick somebody. You'll have Alzate. You could probably pick up some depth as well. I mean, maybe through the draft or through other means. So those are my two, at least at this point. But no, it's a really good question for Brett and really good kind of thinking exercise for the three of us here.
Yeah. I wish we had Gray to answer this question.
Yeah, Gray would be great. Gray would be great to answer this question. Real quick before we move on, if you're just joining us, we are reading out Discord questions from our Patreons, for our Patreon backers. Questions they have asked us to answer for them, to get our opinion, to pick their brains, or pick our brains, I should say. If you want to join us in our Discord, you have to become a patron. Go to patreon.com/Scars and Spikes today and sign up. You get access to our Discord, bonus video and audio content. We always are trying to look to do more with that, post consistently to Discord. Yeah, certainly Discord, but post consistently to Patreon. We definitely want to do that within at the end of this season, certainly, but then moving into 2026. So patreon.com/Scars and Spikes. Get a list of all the tier levels and all the benefits included with becoming a Patreon backer. So,
and by the way, let
Kevin,
me just add real quick. Sorry, Sydney, before you keep going. This kind of style of mailbag type thing, we do that on a regular basis for our Patreon members. Usually that's a Patreon exclusive thing, but we're kind of giving y'all a taste of what that's like. So if y'all like this type of content and you want more of that, be sure to join the Patreon. You get tons of other awesome benefits. So
Yes.
there's some very good reasons for you to sign up.
I'll give you one more
yes.
thing while we're diving in. We've gotten the green light, or I'll say the semi green light,
Yellow light
from MLS. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like somewhere between yellow and green, maybe like I don't know what that color would be. It'd be a weird color, like brown or something. Anyway,
Any art teachers, what color would that be?
create a color.
But we are going to try to, for our at least our $10 tier backers, and we're trying to figure this out. So this is kind of a work in progress. But we're going to start doing, as often as we can, one of the MLS kind of personalities that we typically have on the regular show on Wednesday, doing a AMA with them. So being able to, for the folks in the Patreon, be able to jump in and again ask them anything within reason. Like, we got to filter a little bit, probably.
Don't be idiots. For lack of a better,
but
not that any of our Patreon backers are. But.
The warning is going to go out, to also the MLS personality to say, like, hey, you might get some questions. It's up to you whether you want to answer them or not. But anyway, that's going to be a thing that we're trying to introduce. I've been talking with MLS, and they seem really cool with it, but it's just a matter of logistics, and trying to get.
We'll try and make it happen.
Timing and all that. Yeah. So there you go. There's 3 reasons why you should join the Patreon right now.
Cool.
Carry on.
Kevin asking about Stian Gregerson, who returned to the lineup against Seattle after 3+ months. And Kevin said Gregerson actually looked pretty good for a guy who hasn't played in like 3 months. Does this change any of your minds on a buyout? Let me ask this first. I mean, we've kind of been assuming that Gregerson would be a buyout. So just maybe quickly, Tyler, does this change your mind on possibly buying out Gregerson? Then we'll get to the rest of the question.
No, and I'll say because of this. 1, his sample size is injury.
Bad sample
and
size.
2, bad samples. But the other thing is, like, I guess my only caveat would be like Mihai came on last night. Mihai looked pretty good. The one moment that I want to see more with him was you had that second goal that was scored where he maybe could have jumped to go for that ball, but also Derek Williams absolutely could have had much more to say to his defender to try to save that goal as well. So I think at this point, the new guy to me outweighs the positives that you would get from a Gregerson coming back, because you just never know if he's going to be healthy.
Yeah, I mean, this is the 9th game that he's played out of 23, 24 that Atlanta has played this season. That's just not good enough for a player that you were paying. I think it's like $900K salary. Talking about TAM money, we're talking about a guy who you were expecting to be a starter this season and hasn't been there to start for you. And also a guy who, by the way, is occasionally called up to the national team, which is another problem, because if he's not out injured, he's out with the national team, and that's a whole mess. But yeah, it does not change my mind. I think he's a buyout candidate. And to me also the moment he had in the last game where this dude is 6'5". He's the tallest guy on the field. And he misses completely an aerial duel for a ball that ends up being the first Seattle goal. For me, he's mostly at fault in that sequence.
Yeah, and Derek was not.
No, he wasn't.
And to be fair, Derek was put in a pretty bad spot. He was trying to defend a 2 or 3v1.
That was a little hard on him.
No easy way for him to do that. Gregerson needs to get to the ball. And don't tell me that it's because he had a guy on him. We're talking about a 6'5" Norwegian center back. If this dude cannot muscle through some small ass guy trying to press him, he has no business being a center back.
Right.
But yeah, that doesn't change my mind on him. If not him, who are the other buyout candidates? Well, I've talked about Alexi. I think that is not likely because it's a massive buyout we're talking about. Granted, Arthur Blank probably, blows his nose with the amount of money it takes to buy out Alexei Miranchuk. I was trying to say the not vulgar version of this, but
we know what you mean.
but that. And then also we're assuming we are going to use the buyout. What is the percent chance that we don't? I think 1% chance that we don't use the buyout.
So who they using on?
I would say probably Gregerson. What was that?
If not Gregerson,
Tyler.
I kind of thought about that. I was kind of thinking about that before you asked it, because it's not that big of a pill to swallow. Yes, he's on a big contract, but not as big a contract as Gregerson, not as big a contract as we assume Mihai will be. We'll find that out in a few months. But I was actually thinking of Braun, because where's he going to play? You know, I think especially you have Beracao coming in, so you'll have presumably Gregerson and Beracao, or I'm sorry, Mihai and Beracao as your starting center backs. You'll have Gregerson, you'll have Abram, you'll have Williams in that group as well. So you kind of have a logjam, and someone has to give. So I don't know if I would be surprised if Luis Abram is the buyout and you're able to kind of offload that contract, because it's going to be tough to transfer him with the amount of money he's making. You could sell him maybe to a South American club. But yeah, it would surprise me if Luis Abram was that buyout. I would say 20% Atlanta United don't use the buyout from 2025. By the way, shout out to Lockville Batson. Good to see you walking out from the stadium. I'm sorry I didn't say more to you. I was with my family, so I was meeting up with them. So thanks for the shout out.
Sydney, a quick point on Abram. So he is making almost 900K salary.
Okay.
And also another reason to buy him out, and Bruno just said it, he is on an international slot. Yep. So assuming that you are still pursuing Alzate, assuming that is going to get over the line, you'll need an international slot for him. If you buy out Abram, then you don't need to go get an international slot from another team and potentially have happen to Atlanta what they just did to Miami, which is completely fleece them. Like, get a player plus like more than he is worth in GAM for an international slot.
A domestic player at that.
Yeah.
And yeah, for all those reasons, I'll give you it's 0.5% for me that they don't use the buyout. I mean, I just, with how aggressive this team has been just so far. I mean, you think about it, we are 72 hours in the actual transfer window at this point, and all this crap has happened. Now, granted, some of it goes back to before, but with how aggressive they're being, you have the Alzate rumor again, which I feel is going to go through personally. You need that slot anyway. Abram is kind of the odd man out, considering, like y'all said, the money situation, but also he is that international player that has gone every single window. And for a guy that has spent a significant chunk of his time here as a backup center back, you can't have a guy going out on international duty, because that should be your guy that's there to save the day when everybody else is out. So it just doesn't make sense to keep him around.
Got another one from Brett, and we kind of talked about it maybe a little bit earlier, but the second goal that De Rosario scored for Seattle, the go-ahead goal. Brett say, Lennon and Saba have taken a lot of flack for the second goal. Is Almiron getting a pass for not getting back in defending? What's his defensive assignment that made the cross? So what do either of you guys think? Either Henry or Tyler, I guess. I feel like Saba, it's a bad pass by Saba. It's a bad pass. He can't make that pass to start to attack the other way. I feel like Atlanta should have done much better in the box, but where does Almiron, I guess, kind of fit into that, Henry?
For me, not much. I mean, look, we're talking about Miggy, a player who at this point in the game has run nonstop for 95 minutes.
Good
right?
point.
And we're talking about also Miguel Amorón, a 31-year-old winger, his value is his pace, right? Even though he's 31, he still has plenty of pace. Even though, it's not as much as he had before, but he has pace. You want him to use that more in the attack, don't you? You want him to use most of that, of his explosiveness going forward. And so I think they're willing a little bit to sacrifice him, like coming back all the way and supporting the defense entirely, and just kind of allow him to stay forward a little bit more than maybe Saba or maybe some of the other players that we've seen on the right wing before.
Yeah.
For him to be a little bit closer to the final third where you want him to be most of the time. I don't really blame him a whole lot for that goal. I don't think I can blame him too much for that goal, especially because, like I said, he was running for 95 minutes in that game.
Right.
The chief guys for me where that broke down was Saba with a bad pass, Brooks Lennon, who first of all heads it towards there was a clearance, and Mihai described this when we talked to him last night. Mihai blocks the ball, right? Because the ball plays in, Mihai blocks it, and Brooks just heads it straight to the Seattle players on the side of the box.
Right.
Who then, because Lennon is too slow to get with the rest of the line, ends up playing Di Rosario onside. If Lennon gets back with the rest of the back line and executes the offside trap, that goal does not count because Di Rosario would have been offside. So for me, Lennon especially, heading the ball towards the guy who plays the cross, being, playing the goal scorer onside, and also, just not being there to close the ball down. I mean, look, if he was tired, I would understand, but he came on like a minute or 30 seconds before this. He had just come on to close out the game.
You know what's wild to me?
You can't have that happen, man.
This sub happened, and I literally turned to Henry and I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this sub. And he was like, why? And I was like, Ronald Hernandez has been good defensively. And I understand that he's been playing for 90 plus minutes, but like he's been good. Whereas Brooks Lennon has struggled defensively. It's not like we need offense. I mean, we do, but like, it's not like you're looking for somebody to go forward and put in, kind of predictable crosses. Defensively, Brooks Lennon has really struggled over the past calendar year.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't like this. And dang it, if it wasn't 30 seconds after that came out of my mouth, this happens. And I'm like, dude, I got to put a lot of it on Brooks. I can't put much on Miggy at all. I mean, if the defenders had all done their job in this situation, then absolutely it's got to go back to Miggy and Saba, to be fair. Because at that point, it's like you're having to defend as a full squad. But you weren't in that position yet. You had defenders essentially blowing coverage is what happened. And so I can't put it really on any of the attackers when the defenders weren't doing their job.
I was looking back at the goal, and it's just a mistimed header. I mean, you get the first clearance away from the box, but then I am looking at it, and I guess Lennon does a good. Yeah, I do see it kind of. Toward the end, he does play Di Rosario offside or onside, I should say. And that's good vision by Di Rosario to spot that Lennon was playing him onside. So it's little moments like, and we talk about all the time, it's little moments, those little small moments in matches that do it, letting you nut it in. I mean, it's something that you don't see on the score sheet, but you look back at the tape and like right there, it's where Lennon just does play Di Rosario onside. That's where it kind of goes wrong because he's kind of ball watching. And I'm sure that's going to be looked at in training. That's going to be revealed on the tape and say, hey, Brooks, you have to do a better job and being aware of your man. He kind of looks back just for a moment, but then his eyes go back on the ball. he's back ball watching. And then in that little moment, D. Rosario's able to get himself onside, able to get himself in the position to head that past Brad Guzan for what appeared to me the match winner until Miranchuk scored his goal. So I'm sure that'll be a topic of discussion in training in the in the film room leading up to Leafs Cup against Necaxa.
Yeah. Yoltz saying in the chat, I was waving my arms at the bench to not put in Lennon when they subbed in Saba, but I guess they didn't get
Guess
the message.
not. Just kidding.
Clearly not. I applaud your
You know
effort.
what's funny though? They
But-
were very close to subbing Lennon in earlier in the game.
They were.
I saw him running towards like the fourth official. Like it looked like he was getting ready to come on, and then I think they swapped him out for Saba at the last minute or something like that. So yeah, I don't know. It was weird, but it's hard for me to defend Lennon at this point or say that Lennon, I guess, should be the first one off the bench for whoever's playing right back. I mean, he's already kind of fallen out of favor with Ronnie Dyla, you kind of feel, given that it's 2 games in a row he hasn't started. So
yeah, real quick, and someone put in the chat what exactly happens with a buyout. So, MLSsoccer.com probably is a good resource to go to, but I'm going to pull up just quickly to see what happens with a buyout, just according to the roster rules. So, as of a few years ago, or last year, I believe, or this year, I should say, you have 2 buyouts. And what that is, reading off the roster rules, buyouts are at the club's expense and may apply to any mutually terminated contracted player or a contract that remains in effect. The buyouts may be conducted in season or during the off season. If the buyout is conducted in season, it must be concluded by the close of the transfer window, secondary transfer window. So if Atlanta United are to buy out a player, they'll have to complete it, by the end of the transfer window if they want to do that. And that's right off the MLS roster rules and regulations page.
Essentially,
just
you're just paying.
Yeah, it removes their players. It removes their hit to the salary budget. So that's off the table. That contract is off the table.
And them off the roster.
So any
roster
slots that they
entirely.
occupy, DP, international, whatever, that all is cleared.
Yep. Got one more from Discord. So talking about Jaden Hibbert and Dom Chonki, we just talked about them. Are either one on the chopping block? And Ulmer saying we should see Jaden for the rest of the season to know if he'll be the guy next year. Is his organization planning on Brad not retiring? I'm going to take the second part first. I feel like Brad Guzan is going to retire or announce his retirement effective at the end of the 2025 season, being at 41. He's like, I keep saying, hey, maybe he gets a job somewhere else. The only team that I feel would make sense at this point would be Chicago, being from Chicago. It won't be as a starter. So the only thing it would make sense is a backup, or he remains in Atlanta as a goalkeeping coach of some sort, maybe working with the academy, working with the kids in some form or fashion, maybe going to broadcasting for MLS season pass. I think the organization has a plan in place if and when Brad Guzan does retire. But with his contract ending in 2025, I think he was, and this is just speculation, I think his plan was always to let his contract run out with Atlanta United and then call it a career. So I think when he retires, it's not going to be like Atlanta United has no plan. And maybe Jaden Hibbert is the number one keeper. Maybe you bring in a cheap-ish option, maybe on a 1-year deal to help bridge the gap between Guzan and Hibbert. Maybe have this player as a mentor, certainly the number one goalkeeper, but a mentor and a teacher for Jaden Hibbert as well. Use Hibbert in your cup competitions, U.S. Open Cup or Leagues Cup. Well, it looks like U.S. Open Cup 2026. They're not going to be in Leagues Cup as things stand in 2026 at this time, unless there are some changes, unforeseen changes. But I would say short answer, no. I don't think Jaden Hibbert is on the chopping block. I think he has a future with Atlanta United, and I think he will be here. You would think he would be here for the foreseeable future, Jaden Hibbert. His contract, by the way, is ending at the end of the season, but he has options for the next 3 years. So I would say they bring in a cheap-ish veteran on a 1-year deal to help him continue to get groomed for the first team. And then in 2027, maybe give him the keys to the car, proverbially speaking, unless something goes dramatically wrong. Remember, you have John Ransom in the system as well. So there's another player that Atlanta United could bring up in the near future, I would say, on a homegrown contract for starting in 2026. Continue to get him opportunities to learn under goalkeeper 1, learn under Hibbert, learn under the 2s, and get himself ready potentially for maybe a starting role with Atlanta United's first team within the next few years. But that's down the road. That remains to be seen.
Henry, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think you gave a very comprehensive answer on Jaden Hibbert. So I don't think he's on the chopping block. I think if anything, he's one of the safer players on the roster at the moment. And Dominic Chanqui, I don't think so. I mean, unless we're in that make-believe scenario that Brett had us in earlier, I don't think either of them are on the chopping block.
Yeah.
These are guys that you're really planning for the future. Dominic Chanqui, obviously a player that Ronnie Dyla really rated in preseason. He played him a lot at left back because Pedro Amador was injured, so had to play him there. And, trusted him, used up all 4 of his short-term call-ups really, really quickly, and then signed him to the first team, to a homegrown contract way earlier, a year earlier than originally planned. So clearly, Ronnie Dyla sees something in him. Again, he's young. He's got developing to do. You need to polish him up a lot before he's going to be ready for significant first-team minutes. So I don't think he's on the chopping block, but, he's got to get eased into the first team a little bit. Like he was thrown out in that NYCFC game and out of kind of desperation, because I think that was a game where Pedro Amador for some reason just wasn't, like, he was taken out of the lineup in the middle of warm-ups, right, with a knock. So it was a very, really quick thing, a really spur of the moment thing, and except for the glaring error that he had, he was decent, I would say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do not think that he's on the chopping block. Hopefully we see him get a few minutes in Leagues Cup. I would like him to get a few minutes, even though he's, again, we've talked about Leagues Cup as a tournament where you want to see, you want to give some minutes to these guys. You're not expecting to go too far into it. So I wouldn't mind if he got a few minutes in that tournament.
Tyler?
I agree. I think you look at Chanqui especially and how crucial he was not only in the preseason and just like showing how good he is to Dyla, but then also kind of working himself into a first team contract, like Henry was saying. I'll go back to the story I've mentioned a few times, and I also realize I've been partially telling the story incorrectly because I kept saying Gabriel Martinelli. I don't know why, but it's Martin Odegaard. But back at the beginning of the season, the first time I ever spoke with Dyla, he said he loves giving these young players chances. Pointed to Odegaard, 15 years old, gave him the opportunity, and that was one of the first moments that he had. Of course, he's since had a phenomenal career.
It's been pretty
good. Yeah, it's been all right. He really, really values the young players. He mentioned last night in the press conference how he feels like everybody deserves their moment. And, you see like Ronald Hernandez, Luke Brennan, like guys coming in and showing that they need to be given significant time. So when it comes to guys like Hibbert and DCQ, I would agree with Henry. I don't think there's much of a chance. I'm not going to say there's zero chance because I would have said the same thing about Noah Cobb like a week ago. But I also understand the reasoning behind the Noah Cobb and Efrain Morales trades. DCQ and Jaden Hibbert, that one would not make – it would make even less sense to me. unless you were just able to weirdly snag a lot of money for them. And it's nothing against them, but they just haven't had that time to prove themselves yet in MLS. So why would an MLS team come calling for them?
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's all the questions we have from Discord. These you get to the Patreon backers who asked us questions in Discord. They're good, and we really enjoyed talking through them. Guys, we have MLS Monday coming up, and the big news, of course, Thomas Mueller in discussions with Vancouver Whitecaps. Who'd have thunk it, guys? Which
Wild.
Your bingo
it's certainly not
card.
a mine.
Okay.
So I'm sure that will come up in some form and fashion on MLS Monday. Messi and Alba, of course, in the play, and Miami drew Cincinnati 0-0. Miles Robinson had a goal called back in the last minutes. I'm sure we'll talk about that. Chicago back in playoff places. Vancouver won again. San Diego defeating Nashville out west. And several other results. Orlando beating Charlotte on the road. Portland beating LAFC on the road. So we'll dive into some of the big storylines on MLS Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time if you're watching on YouTube. Anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart. The audio version will be up shortly afterwards. And of course, you can watch on YouTube after the show ends. Guys, Leagues Cup on Wednesday. Fun times. We'll be there covering that as well. We'll be there talking about it as well. Stay tuned to scarfsandspikes.com for analysis, insight, opinion on Atlanta United. Transfer rumors galore, guys. Big week we are hearing.
More to come this week, maybe? Question mark?
Question mark.
Definitely more to come. Go on the website too. If you don't know this, is our transfer tracker. It's essentially a page that's got all the crap going on with all these Atlanta United transfers. Again, this week expected to be pretty big. If you haven't by chance already, you know, the Patreon, we would love for you guys to join because there's so much stuff going on there. You can also hop over to our website, put in your email, and you'll get all of these articles that we're putting out about transfers and everything else straight to your email the moment that they go out. So that's one of those things too, that go to the homepage, you'll see it right there. Put in your email and get all the news.
Indeed.
You don't want to miss a thing, man, because literally the news like slowly was trickling in to start the window. And then like last week, it's like 12 things happened. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you sign yourself up for these notifications and things so that you don't miss a second of exciting Atlanta United transfer news.
Exciting indeed.
But there's something to be excited about, and that's it.
Yes,
right
there
now.
is. Henry, where can people find you on social media?
H.A. Higuita, pretty much anywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky.
Tyler, where can people find you on social media?
ATL Pilgrim. Also,
what's with
everywhere.
the hand signs?
I am at SH Wright on X, SH Wright at bsky.social on Blue Sky, Soccer on Instagram and Threads. Tommy, our co-host, has said Tommy ATL 96 on all social media platforms. We collectively are at Scarfs, the letter N, Spikes on X, scarfsandspikes.com on Blue Sky, Scarfs and Spikes everywhere else. And that's it. Got our plugs in, got our show in. We're done, gentlemen.
It was a good time.
Thanks for the questions, Patreon backers, and yes.
And everybody in the chat too, just hopping in. It was a good.
If you want more of this, make sure to
it.
join the Patreon so you can get in on all the mailbag action and give us questions of your own in the Discord.
One quick thing, as always, if you're watching on YouTube, whether live or recorded, like, subscribe, share our content. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart afterwards, please leave a like or leave a review, I should say, 5 stars, and let us know what you think of the show.
Absolutely.
See ya.
You know,
No, I don't.
I feel like I had to think about how I wanted to word this. I feel like on my bingo card, even this year, it would not have been. I know he's been divisive. I don't feel like Brooks Lennon would have been the one that everybody's like, yeah, I just don't know. I have very strong opinions either way, but there's no in between.
Yeah.
that injury at the end of last season really just did him in, didn't it?
Yeah.
Also, because I had to look this up because I couldn't believe it at first, but yeah, I mean Martin Odegaard and Ronnie Dyla met at what is the name of this club? Stromsgodset?
Yes.
Tom's gonna say, yeah.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. No, and the fact that he literally goes from there to Real Madrid, Castilla, and then that's kind of where his career takes off. It's kind of the rest is
Yeah.
history, right? Because he develops in the Real Madrid system and then goes off to Arsenal for 35 million fee, and now he's one of the best players in the world.
He's decent.
I agree. He's aight.
He's okay. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.